Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10 says, "Do not despise the day of small beginnings." It only takes one pebble in a pond to create a ripple of influence. The movement of one tiny snowflake can start an avalanche of momentum, and one willing servant of God can start a movement that can change an entire country. If you're looking for humble beginnings, Miami, Oklahoma is a good place to start. An unremarkable small town with a great church. And as teenagers, Freeman and Carolyn Bump met at First Christian Church there in Miami, under the ministry of Russ Martin. Russ was famous for sending teenagers into ministry. Someone said he could inspire you to charge the gates of hell with a squirt gun, and Freeman and Carolyn were inspired to enroll at Ozark Bible College, 30 miles up the road. They were married as Ozark students, and during their college years, they ministered to churches in Oklahoma and Kansas. But during the 1956 National Missionary Convention, held in Joplin, they were recruited to go to the mission field by Wayne and Martha Hayes, missionaries in central Mexico. In that moment, their lives changed forever. Little did they know that that choice to take the gospel to Mexico would ripple into thousands of other lives changed forever as well. That one decision was the pebble in the pond. In January 1960, the Bumps moved their entire family, including 3 children under the age of 3, to central Mexico. That first year was a whirlwind of experiences, a missionary baptism by fire. As other missionaries can tell you, the first year was filled with hardship, sickness, frustration, and lots of learning. But by 1961, with lessons learned at Ozark and lessons learned in the School of Hard Knocks, they began to move forward. The dream to plant churches started in Chihuahua, Mexico, about 230 miles south of El Paso, Texas. In those early years, the work involved strengthening an already existing congregation, establishing another newly formed congregation, and laying the groundwork to start a brand new third congregation in the region. Their family also grew, with 2 more children born in 3 years. The ripples of impact were widening. And whenever the kingdom moves forward, the enemy always fights back. In the midst of the joys of new churches and new children, sickness racked their family. Roads to progress were blocked by the Mexican government or corrupt officials throughout the region. In 1965, God moved the family to El Paso, Texas, where they worked with Spanish-American evangelism and began the work of establishing a church in Juarez, Mexico. They prayed and prayed for God to raise up just one more servant to help them get the church started. And of course, He answered their prayers. God brought a Christian lady to them, a lady they had met earlier in their ministry in central Mexico. She was now living in Juarez and knew many people in that area, and through her contacts and visits to the families in that region, they started the church, and it flourished as many came to know Jesus Christ. The ripples just grew larger. Now, over 50 years later, the Freemans have helped start more than 25 churches in Mexico. In a place often riddled with violence because of the drug trade, and in villages rife with poverty and homelessness, these churches have been a beacon of hope. Along the way, the Bumps also started other parachurch ministries, like the radio program The Voice of Truth, that was aired over 8 radio stations in Mexico for more than 2 years. At camps that they've started and at urban youth centers they've built, young people are still learning about the new purpose they can find in Jesus Christ. In the last few years, the Bumps have helped establish the Juarez Bible Institute to train the next generation of Mexican Christian leaders to carry on the Great Commission of Christ, and the ripples now reach across the entire nation of Mexico and beyond. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. Just 2 simple teenagers from Miami, Oklahoma, but like 5 loaves and 2 fish in the hands of Jesus, their work has multiplied beyond what they could have asked or imagined. Freeman and Carolyn Bump have exemplified the definition of obedient servants. The old song says, "Wherever He leads, I'll go." And wherever He led, they went. And because of their obedience, God has used them greatly for His glory and for the world's good. Freeman and Carolyn, as Ozark graduates, we are grateful that you have never stopped being ambassadors for Christ. Well done, good and faithful servants. And on behalf of the entire Ozark Christian College family, congratulations.